Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Travel Escapes. I'm Rhonda Swian, the Leisure Manager at Paul Travel, and my beautiful co-host, Julie Beck-Dash.
Hi, Rhonda, and welcome, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for taking some time this afternoon and joining us on our little web series where we've been exploring different destinations and experiences from around the world, and in hopes to kind of keep our travel dreams alive and maybe giving some food for thought on where you might want to visit to next. I know most of us out there, and I can definitely speak for myself, and I'm sure, Julie, you feel the same way. We cannot wait to get traveling again. And I think today's destination is on everybody's bucket list. If it's not, it certainly should be. It's such a beautiful place to visit, from the history, some ruins, great food, and the spectacular islands. Oh my gosh, Greece is so amazing. And it's, a lot of these islands, you've probably heard of the more famous ones being Santorini, Crete, and Mykonos. But you know what? There's so many more of the smaller islands that is so worth visiting. It's a place you can kind of immerse yourself into the local life. It's really more of an authentic feel. I know I actually did this a few years ago. I cruised through some of the islands in Greece, and I had a chance to visit some of these local smaller islands. And it was a fabulous way to get a really good taste and immerse myself into the Grecian experience. So we hope today you're really going to enjoy our presentation and our wonderful guests that we'll welcome very shortly, and maybe learn something new. So just before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. I've had several questions over the last little while asking if friends can join in and watch any of the recordings that we have. Please, 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 absolutely share with your friends or your family. Just have them visit our website, so paultravel.com/webinars. You'll find a list of all of the webinars there, or send a message to Julie or myself. We'll be happy to share the recordings with you. So thank you for your questions. And please, any feedback you have, please send to either Julie or myself. We love hearing from you. Next week, while we're talking about webinars, next week, we're actually going to be taking a little virtual visit to Finland. So that's next Thursday, a little bit earlier in the day, because our guest will be joining us live. So it'll be at 10 a.m. So today, Greece. Yay, we're talking about Greece, and so exciting. And I have the pleasure of welcoming our wonderful guest today, Christina. And Christina, I apologize, I'm not going to pronounce your last name. I'll let you do the honors of that. I don't want to butcher it at all. So welcome, Christina. And we're really looking forward to you sharing, your experience and all of your knowledge on these amazing islands. So welcome.
Thank you. It is a mouthful, Christina Papavlasoupoulos. I'm a Greek wannabe. I married one, and yeah, it came with the last name. So
excellent.
All right.
So we've got a lot of people joining us, Christina. So we're all very excited.
Wonderful. All right.
Ah, that looks so beautiful. Oh, the memories.
All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
Looks good.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll begin. We're going to jump into discovering Greece. Just a quick intro on myself. Again, my name is Christina Papavlasoupoulos, and my best friend pictured here, obviously I'm the blonde one, Nectaria. We co-founded both Myths Muses and Shafari together. Myths Muses is a boutique destination expert specializing in Greece with these unique experiences. And Shafari is the first of its kind marketplace connecting women through join-in group adventures and retreats. So we work with travel advisors on both our brands. So if you're interested, please ask the wonderful ladies here about our exclusive itineraries, special perks, and pricing. All right, so what we're going to cover, we'll talk fun facts about Greece and its culture. We're going to talk about the things that you absolutely must try that are very unique to Greece. hidden gem destinations and why we love them, including the place that Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love, called the most beautiful place on earth. We'll talk exceptional experiences in some incredible destinations, some of which you might know, some you might not yet. And then I'll go over some tips for visiting the more popular bucket list places. So that was an awesome video that Discover Greece, they're part of the tourism marketing board for Greece, put together. They had some downtime during the pandemic, so they just put out some incredible material. So if beyond this presentation, you really want to get inspired, learn about specific regions or specific islands, you can just head to YouTube and search Discover Greece, and they've got some just simply incredible material. So I love that video because it really shows the diversity of the terrain of Greece. We saw everything from kind of jungly looking things to the beautiful white rock of Milos, some of the ports and the cliffside places. So just a little overall teaser of all the different beautiful things you can get with Greece. So Greece, just like kind of a little bit of a preview on it, just under 11 million people that reside in Greece, 6,000 islands in total, 227 which are inhabited. So the currency is the euro. Before that, it was the drachma, and it became part of the EU in 2001. So the important thing to know about Greece are the main island groups, and it's really good to know about those. We'll look at a map when you're planning your travels. So there's the Ionian, the Cyclades, the Dodecanese, Saronic, Northern Sporades, Aegean, and Crete. So here is, it's not the best map, but it's really great in showing all the different groups. So to the west, these are some you probably know, Zakynthos and Corfu are quite popular, and that's to the west of it. Then kind of moving, the Peloponnese, as you see, is a large peninsula. Where the little airplane is, that's where Athens is. So that's kind of central, the lower bit is central Greece. So a lot of times when people visit the Peloponnese, I'm sure you've heard of Kalamata, where the olives are, and other places, Sparta, of course, that's all in that Western Peloponnese peninsula. Continuing on are the Saronic Islands, Hydra and Spetses and Poros. Those are very close to Athens. Some people do those in like a day trip. The Sporades are Skopelos, Skiathos. You will be talking about Skopelos a little bit later on, and you've seen it before if you've ever seen the movie Mamma Mia, where that was filmed. The Cycladic Islands are probably maybe among the most well-known. You've got Mykonos, Santorini, and many beautiful ones in between, Paros, Naxos. and some smaller ones that we'll be talking about as well. The Dodecanese are a little bit further. Among the more popular would be Rhodes, but there's also Kos, Patmos, Astipallia. Those are all, you know, the easternmost towards Turkey. And then we've got Crete all kind of on its own down there. It is the largest, about 4 hours from side to side. And we'll talk about that as well. Crete's really unique. It has its own kind of dialect and culture. So those make up the Greek islands. So as a expat myself who lived in Greece for a decade, I always find the fun things to try. So these are the unique things to Greece. One thing which is among the most popular is the ever famous choriatiki Greek salad. It's simple, but with those amazing Mediterranean vegetables, it's just perfect. With cucumber, tomato, it might have onion, olives, and a good drizzle of olive oil, and lots of oregano, and of course, feta. So mastika is a really cool thing that is both a kind of like a sweet syrup, but it is used in everything from gum to like liquors. So mastika is a really tasty liquor as well, used in like mixed with gin and cucumber for a really refreshing cocktail. If you visit Greece, you'll see that all over. And it's called the tears of the tree from Chios. It's only found on the island of Chios in Greece. So if anybody is as into coffee as I am, Greece has the coolest coffee culture. There are cafeneos where almost exclusively men will drink coffee, and a lot of the older gentlemen will sit around and spend their afternoon there. And then there's the freddo, which is the one kind of pictured there. It is in a cold iced espresso drink with whipped cold frothed milk. And it's really, really delicious and really refreshing in the summer. And then on the left, that photograph is, sometimes it's called Greek coffee, sometimes it's called Turkish coffee or something else, but it's coffee that's boiled and poured. And they call them cafenus. They actually read the coffee grinds. If you've ever heard of, they spin the coffee, turn it upside down, and they'll actually kind of do fortune telling from it, which is a fun thing to do. So kefi is an amazing word. It can't be translated, but it's a Greek word just meaning loving life and having fun. So here they are celebrating what's called a panegyri. So actually tomorrow is a really big panegyri in Greece. My son, his name is Konstantinos. So anyone named Konstantinos or Helen, named after St. Constantine and St. Helen, it's their name day. So there are really large celebrations around name days. Anybody named Christos or Christina, we celebrate at Christmas. So name days and this idea of kefi are very popular in Greece. And the bouzoukia, this is a strange one. These are live concert residencies. So given that Greek celebrities and Greek singers aren't obviously internationally popular, they kind of fund their careers by working at a theater, and they're open like weekends, and people come and book tables with bottle service, and they throw flowers. These are trays of carnations being thrown at the singer as like a compliment. So this is something that you've probably seen in the old Greek movies. They throw and break plates, and now they're throwing flowers. All right, so I want to cover some kind of our hidden gem, the top 5 destinations that most people don't know in Greece. One of my favorites is Tinos. So you might remember from the map, that's located in the Cycladic Islands. It's covered a lot kind of as the little sister of Mykonos in its shadow, but it's really up and coming as a popular destination. It has 50 villages. And it's really known as a foodie destination. So if anyone's into culinary experiences, farm to table, fresh seafood, this is a great place for it. And they actually started a few years ago, something called Tinos Food Paths. So that is once a year. They set a festival, and just, you know, all the food producers and restaurants and people come out for it. And it's a really unique event. Another incredible thing about Tinos are the marble workshops. So Tinian marble can actually be found anywhere from the Buckingham Palace to the Louvre. It is an age-old tradition, and this one particular village called Pyrgos in Tinos has famous, it still has a school to this day and museums, and you can actually go, you can work the marble yourself in some of our unique experiences, and see something like that. And for me, Tinos is just a really cool place where style meets authenticity. So this is one of our favorite hotels on the left called Infinity View. It's just about 10-minute walk from Tinos town. And then on the right, you can see kind of that quintessential Cycladic small town where it's very much the whitewashed with the blue accents. And so there's a lot of that kind of modern meets old in Tinos. Another beautiful place to visit is Parga. Parga is located just exactly, it's on the mainland, just across from the Ionian Islands. So that is in the Preveza area. And Parga is known as the island that isn't. It feels like an island, and it's a lovely place to visit because of, you know, the Ionian has among the most beautiful waters in Greece. So it's a really nice way if you're traveling through mainland Greece, and people like that itinerary, Athens and then westward, and then you can take a ferry to the Ionian Islands. They have beautiful, you know, really vibrant colors in their villages as well. So Koufonisia, this is a very popular island among Greeks who want that quiet, unplugged vacation. It's a little known island, also often referred to as the Maldives of Greece. So this is in the small Cyclades. There is a upper and lower, Ano and Kato Koufonisia. One is barely inhabited and one is uninhabited. So the one that is inhabited, you can go and take a day cruise there. You can cruise from islands like Paros or Naxos that are nearby. And you take a day cruise. You can swim around the beaches of the uninhabited island, which have incredible waters and really cool caves to explore. And then you can have a beautiful seaside taverna lunch on the inhabited island and shop a little bit and get a little bit of a local flair. Another one of my favorites is Skopelos, located up more eastward, as I mentioned, the Sporadis Island. It's very lush and green. And this is actually the church where Mamma Mia was filmed. So if you climb it, which I have done, it's a beautiful view from the top. It is empty inside. So what they used in the movie was actually a soundstage filmed elsewhere, perhaps in Greece or somewhere else. But it's just kind of the shell of the church. But what's really neat is they filmed a lot of the movie on this island. And if you're a big fan of the movie calls the island Kalokeri. That's the fictitious name of the island, which is not actually a Greek island. It means summer in Greece, coming from good weather. So if you ever watch it again and you hear them call it Kalokeri, you know a Greek word now, which means summer. All right, and then getting to Zagorohoria. This is, Horia means it's the group of villages. So these are villages of the Zagori region. This is in the kind of northwestern area of Greece, very much considered central Greece. And this is a cluster of mountainous villages. It has one of the deepest gorges in the world and has gorgeous bridges. So it's known for its peaks and valleys and has really just these incredible ancient bridges that have been there for many, many years. So some people love to go if you're a bridge enthusiast, this is definitely the place to go. And what people love about it is you know, a myth you could say about Greece is that it's a summer destination, but they're central Greece, both in central Greece and the Peloponnese Peninsula, which we'll also talk about, is perfect for fall and winter getaways. So this is a Risti mountain resort, a beautiful luxury resort, which has incredible mountain views, a place to do yoga and a spa. So it's one of our favorite stays in a very, you know, kind of rustic area. And I did promise that Elizabeth Gilbert herself said this was one of her places, her most beautiful places that she's ever seen on earth. So this is at Zagorohoria. She came and she actually works with the tour guides and the team that we directly work with there. So you'll be in good hands. You'll get the Elizabeth Gilbert treatment. And essentially, she just said, I mean, she was just gushing. She said, and she's traveled all over the world. She said it was just magical. So yeah. Some of the top unique experiences and where you can stay. So in addition to what we talked about, we'll cover a few more destinations and fun things to do. As I mentioned, the Peloponnese Peninsula. So it's a very, very large place. As I mentioned, it has Sparta, Kalamata, where the olives are, and many other elements to it. So you can visit the castle town of Monemvasia, which is really neat. It feels like you're stepping back into a medieval movie. You can follow the towns of ancient history. So if anyone's into literature or history, you can visit Mycenae, which is in Homer's The Odyssey. You can see Epidavros, which is where the ancient theater is. Nafplio is a very popular seaside town. You can visit the Corinth Canal or discover a quiet place in Mani, which is a little further west, and see the Vlichada cave. So Porto Heli, which is in the Peloponnese, is home to Amanzoi. If you're familiar with the Aman collection of hotels, this is an incredible property, one of my favorites of the collection. And I think it's just beautiful how it blends the nature of Greece and this kind of ancient feel with just utter luxury. If you're looking for something a little more authentic, more boutique style, there's tons of stone boutique hotels throughout Mani. This one I love is called Basamena. All right, so then going further west and north, we have Corfu. So Corfu is a beautiful place to visit, a great place for families. You can see and do pretty much anything there. Princess Sisi, who was the Empress Elizabeth of Austria, she fell ill, and so they built her a kind of like summer home in Corfu, and she grew to love the island very much. So she has a beautiful palace there, and the courtyard of Muses is one of my favorite elements of it. Things you can do in Corfu as well. You can enjoy a cocktail in the Blue Bar of Domes Miramare. It's one of my favorite hotels there. And it was actually owned by the Onassis family and is where Jackie O spent many of her summers. So celebrities, dignitaries, and royalty have shared discussions in Domes Miramare. You can discover the island by bike. So you can rent bikes or take tours around. Set sail on a cruise that includes lunch or drinks. I think from pretty much any island, you can do a cruise, and it definitely is a must if you're enjoying Greece. And another cool thing is that you can climb the fortress of Corfu town, where you can actually see all the way to Albania, which is pretty cool. Here's a 2,000-year-old olive tree, which was actually built directly into the Domes Miramare lobby. All right, and this is, I'm gonna show you a really cool video on it. This is an award-winning olive oil mill. This olive oil is very premium and is sold everywhere from Harrods to top retailers. And it's actually so pure, they're using it in studies for Alzheimer's and cancer treatments. So it's really interesting, the beneficial effects of olive oil. So that was kind of shows you a tour of the facility and the tasting room, and it's very specific how you cup it and you smell it. If anyone's ever done an olive oil tasting or you know, kind of pairing course. And they also always use blue glass. I think it's so you're not influenced by the color of it. Some are deeper, richer, greener. So yeah, it's a really fun experience to do. These are a few photos of the Achilleon Palace. As I mentioned, that's Princess Sisi's palace. And these are the courtyard of Muses on the left. All right, so as I mentioned, Crete is humongous and it has everything from Elunda to the east all the way to Chania on the west. So for me, in terms of creating an itinerary and unique experience, Chania is one of my favorite places. It's a port town, so you can stay actually at these old Venetian palaces converted to boutique hotels. A lot of the wealthy Italian families vacationed in Crete. So there's some incredible hotels with charm that you can stay in. And nearby, like all of Inner Crete has a very, it's still a very authentic, you know, people live in villages there year round and still live kind of an older way of life. So there are organic farms and cheese workshops that you can do, beekeeping at a local working apiary, wine tasting at a converted monastery. There are waterfalls and beautiful beaches to swim at, lots of hiking. You can do a lunch or take a tour to some of the more ancient type villages. And also there's Knossos Palace. Knossos Palace is where arguably the Minoans were among the first European cultures. That's where the Minoan civilization lived in Crete. You'll also often see it with the kind of the bowl and the Minotaur look. And you can do a Minoan cooking course and a pottery making class along with it. More to do in Chania and the surrounding area. You can learn the art of phyllo dough opening, which I'm actually going to show you a video. Often now it's rolled so thin by machine, but back in the day, they actually worked the dough and it was very, very careful how to do it without tearing it and having to start over. You could do a culinary experience at an 18th century olive oil mill. And so there's definitely Cretan herbs and recipes that aren't found in other Greek cuisine. And again, sailing and the boats are very popular. You could take a wooden goulette to the island of pirates, the Grambuza, and visit Balos Lagoon. Balos is a very popular place that people love to visit. So that was a old Papu who still runs his bakery and opens his own phyllo dough. All right, as I mentioned, some of the gorgeous kind of Venetian style castles turned boutique hotels. One is Casa Delfino. And I love just how you can kind of see some of the old architecture mixed with the new touches. This is the lovely courtyard at Casa Delfino. And here's Balos Lagoon, which I mentioned is a popular place to come by boat and walk around. It's really lovely. All right. Another island that I think is quite underrated, but I think it'll be kind of up and coming in the future is Andros. So it's one of the closest Cycladic islands to Athens, which is convenient, and one of the largest. It's the northernmost Cycladic island. So this is very popular for hiking. It has some of the top rated trails in Europe: river trekking, rock climbing, and abseiling, which is rappelling essentially. There's a monastery tour you can take, lots of sailing and boating, traditional cooking classes, horseback riding. And this is very close to the island of Tinos with the marble, which I mentioned before. So you could take a day trip there or enjoy some village hopping. One of our favorite, it's kind of like a retreat type resort, is Onar. It's a lovely hotel set in the hills, and it's just really surrounding yourself with the nature of Andros. To the left is a village of Andros, and to the right is a picture of the kind of a unique rock formation near Andros, the main town. Another lovely island, Andibaros. So if you've heard of Baros, Andi, opposite is Andibaros. This is a smaller it's kind of known as the beach bum island just off of Baros, but it's actually really up and coming. They just got a 5-star resort this year. So you can explore the main town or hop a ferry, as I said, to Baros for the day. Of course, olive oil and wine tasting are prevalent there as well. But there's Despotico is a unique site with a lot of caves, so you can take a boat trip there. Farm to table dining, they actually have a farm connected to this property I'm going to show you. So it's really beautiful to enjoy. You can do a beach picnic. They help you kind of do a little kind of picnic basket lunch. You can do bike rides, and also there's a lovely spa facility at the House of Healing connected with the hotel. So this is the hotel I'm telling you about, the Rooster, opening this year, and it's just such a cool property. It's very much focused on wellness, and it has this kind of open air living concept. So there's a lot of indoor-outdoor interaction. Here's the view of a pool and some loungers from one of the rooms. All right, so those kind of take care of some of the fun experiences. I know, as Rhonda mentioned, we have Santorini, Mykonos, Athens. How do you navigate that, and how do you still get a really great experience? So for Mykonos, there's an area called Old Port. I would say avoid eating there. It's quite touristy because it gets a lot of foot traffic. So try to find the hotels, restaurants, sorry, on the kind of hidden alleyways, and ask where you're staying. You know, where do they like to eat? That's always a good question. Rent a car to visit the best beaches and restaurants. I think there's a misconception often that wherever you stay on an island, you'll be walking distance to town, you'll be walking distance to beaches. That is not true. Most of the islands are quite large. So you either kind of make a choice. Do I want to be walking distance to town or the beaches? And if you want to do it all, you can certainly rent a car and enjoy it. There are a lot of kind of very popular, well-known beach clubs. They're often a little bit overpriced and the food can be disappointing. So again, try to visit the lesser known beach clubs, and we can certainly help you with that. And another suggestion would be to shop and visit Hora. Hora is the name of the town of any island. Every island has what they call a Hora. So visit that in the evening, or even late at night. They reopen when the cruise crowds are gone. So visiting Santorini, a lot of people want to stay in the popular areas of Fira or Ia. So you can catch the Ia sunset from a lovely rooftop restaurant with a great reservation. You don't have to go to this one place, the castle that everyone says to go to, and you're kind of sitting elbow to elbow with others. A sunset catamaran ride is really a must in my opinion, because you get to see all of the cliffs and the colors, the different colored rock formations from the water. To me, Santorini is kind of like the Amalfi Coast. You really want to see it from the water. That's where it's most breathtaking. And Athens. So if you don't want to opt for that pricier Acropolis view room, you can still get amazing views of the Acropolis and some of the ancient architecture lit up at night by visiting some rooftop bars or restaurants, and you can enjoy it over dinner or cocktails. If you'd like to, venture outside, Athens has so much to offer in the city center, but there are incredible places called Vouliagmeni Lake, Sunio, and the whole Athens Riviera, which is down the coast of it. So those are really lovely places to visit too. And then visit the Acropolis early in the morning or towards the end of the day to avoid heat and the crowds. So the nice thing about the Acropolis Museum, it's air conditioned. You can visit it all day long. So save that kind of for the heat of the midday and try to do the Acropolis either earlier or later at night. And of course, I know, depending on when everyone starts to travel, but always make sure you look up when places are, especially archaeological sites, are open. It's not a 9 to 5 thing. There's all different hours and holidays and that sort of thing. So always kind of plan, if there's an absolute must see that you want to visit, make sure it's open at the times you want to go. All right, that is it from my end. I'd love to answer any questions that anybody has on Greece and share some more information.
Thank you so much, Christina. You just, really fanned the wanderlust in me. I can't wait to go there. And it's hard to decide on which island. We do have just a few questions. If anyone else has any, please feel free to put them in the chat. So just in regards to getting around, I know you did briefly go over that, but which islands have airports and which would you have to take a ferry to?
That's a really good question. So I kind of say Athens is like the spoke of the wheel. So arriving in Athens, you can fly to most of the major islands. Paros, Milos, I'm pretty sure Naxos. Crete has multiple airports, and Chania. Heraklion is the main city. Corfu has an airport. A lot of the islands have airports. You travel from Athens to them, but it's really difficult. Between the islands, you would take ferry boats. So that's why it's important to plan your trip, knowing that if you did want to go from Corfu to Crete, as you saw, you would need to fly through Athens. You wouldn't be able to take a ferry directly between those two islands.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and it's great when we work with a company like you, just package it all together and people don't have to worry about a thing.
It's tricky because there's a lot of logistics with the ferry tickets, and sometimes it can be hard to get them. So it is good to, when you have your whole vacation riding on getting from place to place, depending on the seasonality, it's not guaranteed that the ferries will be running that day. So it's really important to take travel and logistics into consideration when building your whole trip. It's kind of a little bit like Tetris.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts for sure.
Yes.
Awesome. A couple more questions. Thank you so much. Are there long stay options in Greece where people could spend maybe 3 weeks, a month?
Yes, it's actually something we're seeing as like a growing trend. I think the work from home camp is desperately needing a change of scenery. So people have been, especially this summer, wanting to do longer stays. But in general, we do offer that. So some boutique hotels will offer that, but a great way to go are villas and homestays. And we work with some excellent properties that can help facilitate that.
Okay. And is there a specific area or island that you'd recommend that are better for long stays, maybe that have a few more amenities or something?
I mean, it really depends on what they're looking for. If they're looking for a quiet place to write their memoirs, they could do so on a lovely remote island. But I feel like for longer stays, like for me personally, I'd want it as a great, jumping pad to other places. So there are islands that are day trips from one another. A lot of the Cycladic islands, as I mentioned, are kind of, you can do that. There are some islands that are very close to Athens. So if you ever wanted a little touch of the city, you could take that back. I think Crete is a great option because you can, in an hour or two, you're in another city or village on another beach. Corfu is very large. I mean, there's something for everyone. And you could definitely, there's options everywhere.
Okay, excellent. There's some questions just on, and it's changing all the time, but just as of today, May 20th, how is Greece doing with COVID? What are the sort of protocol as of today? Just briefly, you don't have to go into all the details, but.
Sure, yeah. So I'm American and I service a lot of, American clients. So people are going to Greece this summer, quite a few. We're seeing that everything that applies to residents will apply to travelers. So in a nutshell, masks are required in all public places, hotel lobbies. The only time they're not required is when you're seated eating and at the beach and at pools. Again, this will change often, but this was their kind of opening protocol. They're handling it, very well. They're open, and my understanding is cases have been under control for a while. But they're very ready and welcoming tourists. And right now, of the countries that are allowed in, you can be vaccinated or a negative test or an antibodies test.
Okay, that's great. And someone just has a question about the economy, like how is the Greek economy doing?
Well, yeah. Considering that tourism is its GDP driver, it's been tough, but they're doing, I think fairly well, considering 1 in 5 of the employees, 1 in 5 residents work in the tourism industry. Mm-hmm. So that's why it was so important for them to quarantine and do everything they could in the months leading up to the tourism kind of boom again. But yeah, I think overall, as the pandemic has affected everyone, it's affected it there as well, but they're really hopeful for this season and next year going forward.
Okay, great, that's great. I know it's always a hard question, but what do you think is the best time to go where, there's like the weather is still good, but there are less crowds?
Oh yeah, no, that's a great question. And I have an answer for that. It's, I would definitely say, if you can have an open schedule, May is great. And what we call the shoulder season, kind of May and September, even into October. It also depends on what kind of a vacation you're seeking. There are, very lively festivals in Mykonos in August. So if someone wants that in the action kind of situation, you want to go towards specific times. For, I think, the common traveler who wants an enjoyable experience with everything open but not as crowded, I would stick to those shoulder seasons. That's also when you're going to get the most reasonable pricing. I would advise, I know a lot of the islands and some of the places are stretching their seasons. I've heard some people say, oh yeah, I booked Santorini in February or March, and like it might technically be open, but it's very cold and windy. Greece is not, an ever warm climate. It does experience a winter, a mild one, but so if you have beaching in mind and swimming and sailing is very much, then I would even maybe narrow that to, end of May, beginning of June into beginning to middle of September.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Good to know. Mm-hmm. Great tips. Just see if there's any other questions. Oh, just on roads. You can't go over all of the islands, but roads, is that another option maybe for a long stay destination?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's I personally haven't done a lot with roads. It's just it's pretty far away. People tend to kind of like the ones closer to it, but Rhodes is a lovely island. They have an incredible culinary scene, and there are great villas and places to stay longer there as well, for sure. It's a nicer, larger island. A lot of people live there year round. I think for a longer stay too, you look at places where residents live year round and it's not as seasonal. So I think there's a lot of places in Greece where that is prevalent.
Okay, perfect. Another question, just again about touching on the Mamma Mia. If someone wasn't able to go to that island where they filmed it, is there sort of like a Mamma Mia experience they could have on another island?
Oh, sure. I mean, it depends on, kind of what they're looking to do or enjoy it. There are different places where it was filmed to kind of, go along with that. But there's beautiful boutique type stays. And, you know, I feel like anytime I go to a Greek celebration or a wedding, it feels like very Mamma Mia to me. So, you know, maybe a kind of version of that would be going around. So like August 15th, which is the feast of the Virgin Mary. Greece is very Christian, so things revolve around the religious holidays. So August 15th is a huge panegyri, as I mentioned, and it's a huge holiday. So there are festivals all over the place with dancing, and, you know, in Crete, you're going to get the live music and, you know, very, very authentic stuff. So there's a lot of things, depending on what they're looking for, that we can incorporate.
Okay, excellent. That's wonderful. Thank you for all the questions. Rhonda, did I miss anything?
No, I think you've got it all covered, and Christina did a great job in giving us a little insight to some unique little islands and experiences. So that was fabulous.
Yeah, it's so great to partner with someone like you. These are things people can't Google, they can't find on their own. And we just love to be able to bring these to our clients and offer them something that is really unique and special and very local. I think people are really looking for that these days, something really local experiences. So sometimes you have to get off, you know, the beaten path to find those. So thank you.
Definitely. Yeah. Real quick, I just wanted to mention, I saw someone asked about the island Hydra, or Hydra, but Hydra is how the Greeks say. Yes. It's a quick ride from Athens, and it is one of my favorite sporadic islands, or of the Saronic Islands. It's very close to Greece, to Athens. Sorry, I'm getting all jumbled here. So Hydra is a lovely place to visit. Hydra and Spetsis are among two of my favorites. Spetsis is also nearby, and it's there are no cars on Spetsis. It's like with horses, so that's pretty cool too. So you don't have to go far to have a nice island experience. There's a lot really close to Athens.
Okay, great. And then just a question somebody also had about just the costs. So obviously, you know, Santorini and Mykonos would be more expensive, but what would someone expect maybe to pay for a meal or an excursion on one of the islands?
Good question. Hotels range in the boutique, you know, from boutique, and you know, you can get it a lovely, beautiful hotel for a couple $100 a night, up to, you know, I'm seeing suites in Santorini, and I'm giving US dollars, but like 1,200 or like 1,000 euro and up. So there's definitely a huge range from beautiful and family driven to luxury. On experiences, there's anything from free walking tours to private excursions. So it really would depend. You know, a lot of the small group experiences I mentioned could be anywhere from 60 to 80 euro a person, depending on if food and drink is involved. That's just a really rough ballpark. You can join in a small group catamaran ride in Santorini, which would be about 120 euro a person, or you can rent one privately or for your group. So it all just kind of depends. And what else did you mention? Meals. So that's the beauty. Greece has awesome street food. Everybody knows what a gyro is. It is 2 to 3 euro, which is, you know, $5 if that. So you can eat amazing, great food on the go. Crepes are also really popular, but at a like a local authentic tavern, I would say maybe like 15 to 20 euro a person is reasonable. Often it comes with like table wine. So it's not a specific bottle or a specific vintage, but it's kind of like local house wine, and, you know, bread and olive oil and that sort of thing. All the way up to, of course, there's incredible, really high-end restaurants and culinary experiences too.
Perfect. Thanks, Christina. I was craving a Greek salad today, and I was thinking about, like, well, when you go to Greece, like, do you just order a salad, or do you go? So I'm glad there's actually a name for that Greek salad with olive oil.
Yeah, koriaki. And it's funny because, like, I like a lot of things on my salad. So when you do kind of order like a regular, it's either that, which has no lettuce, or the other option is like all lettuce and like carrot shavings. I'm like, can I kind of get something in between? But yeah.
And the feta is so amazing too on that salad. Like everything is so fresh and tasty. Yeah, my mouth is watering just even thinking about it. It's so amazing.
And Crete has its own cheeses, Mazithra, and just some, like, there's sweet goat cheeses, and I'm just like, oh gosh. and sesame cheese pies with honey. I'm a cheese lover and wine, so yeah, Crete has my heart with that.
Oh, I love it.
Sorry, I just have one last question. When you do those sailing trips, I mean, the water does look really calm from the pictures, but is it pretty calm for someone who's maybe sensitive to motion sickness?
So that, I'll answer that, and I'll add something to that. While we're talking about motion sickness, be wise and wary with your ferry choices. So there are some great speed ferry options, the fast boats, but they're kind of just like riding a very large jet ski, you know, over and over. There's a lot of rocking. So definitely take Dramamine, prepare yourself for that. And I would say it depends on, for the boats where you're sailing from, like I think, you know, because Santorini is kind of like a crescent shaped moon. If you just kind of stay, you know, in the safer areas, it's not too bad. A catamaran tends to balance it a little more than say a sailboat. I've done a lot of cruises and boat rides in a lot of places. I'm usually fine on the catamarans and the wider boats, but on sailboats or that kind of goulette type style, I have a little bit of a harder time. But you know, if they won't always go depending on the choppiness of the water, or you might get a different route, or they might need to start from a different marina. The Cycladic Islands are known for, you'll see they have windmills everywhere for a reason. In the spring and the fall, the late fall, it's extremely windy. So that sometimes even inhibits the large ferries from going place to place for the residents. So if you're afraid of that, maybe stick to sailing Santorini or Crete versus like around Mykonos or Tinos, for example. They're pretty windy.
Awesome. So good to know. Thank you. That's perfect. Great. Well, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for giving us, you know, a snapshot of Greece and some ideas to add to our itineraries in the future. And so I appreciate you inspiring us and being with us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. As you can see, it's so difficult for me to talk about Greece.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Excellent. It comes.
And thank you all for tuning in. It was the questions. I appreciate that.
Good. Okay. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate everyone's time today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Good night, everybody.